Hi, this is Graphically Alex here to talk about all things fatness related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. But I'm honestly so irritated because everybody's been commenting about my weight, and I feel like all people care about is how much I weigh. And, it's really shown me a lot about the world, and I just don't think I can trust anybody anymore because I feel like it's all people see when they see me. Nobody sees me anymore. They just see that I lost weight. I'm just kidding. Okay, let's go ahead and start this right now. I got a crop. We got a whole crop here. We're gonna do 3 of them today. I haven't done this in a while. I was kicked off by this one. This one got me. So, lose it with Liv. It's all you, girl. You're the reason for this, okay? 1 second, I'm gonna start this over. Okay, let's just hear the whole thing and then we will respond.
I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. Come on, give it to me. Weight loss medication and weight loss surgery is not the easy way out. What is my credentials to say this? I am a self-proclaimed former fatty. Used to be 310 pounds, now I am 130. And here's my hot take. This might ruffle some feathers, and I'm okay with that. If these things are considered the easy way out for weight loss, chemo would be the easy way out of cancer. Insulin would be the easy way out of diabetes. When there is a legitimate medical diagnosis and a legitimate medical resolve, it's as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. What are we doing here? What are we confused about? It's not the easy way out. It's not cheating. If it is, I double cheated. I did weight loss surgery and GLP-1. You know what else I did for 15 years before that? Tried to lose weight unsuccessfully. It has nothing to do with laziness. People who have done it the hard way or all natural, whatever they say, think they deserve a trophy because their body, their metabolism, their genetic workup allowed them to do it that way. They don't deserve any special recognition. And if that's hard, that's how I feel. You are not better than me because you lost weight a different way. Once you show me the rule book or the competition that we're apparently in, maybe I'll understand your side better. But to me, you lost weight, great. I lost weight, great. Yay, we're all winning here. Where's the competition? Losing weight, no matter if you have medical assistance or not, is not easy. And anyone that tells you differently or believes differently is wrong. That's my take. Have a great day, y'all.
Okay, so I think that there's a lot of issues. When it comes to MSP, when it comes to Midsize Princess energy, it has a lot to do with holding on to especially residual toxic ritualistic, although there are some cases where somebody hasn't had this issue. I think this person has. I'm going to just say that. Why do I think that? I think so because she does not acknowledge that she was overeating. She doesn't say it at all. She can't. It's her genetics. It's the magic. It's all this stuff. And there's no real hormonal diagnosis that she offers. There's nothing that gives any kind of physical root to what she's saying, which I think is very sus. So if you're going to do all this, you should be talking about the actual issues, hormone issues that you had that made it more difficult. That would give you more credibility, in my opinion. Otherwise, it sounds like a whole lot of toxic ritualistic BS because you're not acknowledging overeating and you're acting like you magically were a certain weight, which is bizarre. Then let's go ahead and break it down. I just have a lot of issues with this video, just a lot. I think it's divisive. I think that I don't know if she was trying to defend herself, but she actually comes across as really hostile. And she puts out an energy that she's better for doing what she did. And she also, there's just so much here. Let's go ahead and get through it.
I'll hold your hand when I say this. Come on, give it to me. Weight loss medication and weight loss surgery is not the easy way out.
So I agree with this. I agree with that sentiment. I don't think it's an easy way out. I think that there's risks to it. I think that there is a cost to it. There are physical costs to it that a lot of people don't acknowledge. For example, your digestion is never the same. post weight loss surgery. It's just not. It's risky. There are issues with it. Now, of course, I would support somebody if that's where they were at, in a situation where it's getting towards life or death. Regardless, it's becoming more risky to not get the surgery than to get it. I completely understand and I do not judge. But I agree, it isn't easy. Same thing with GLP-1. If you're using it specifically for weight loss, it is riskier, especially if you don't have diabetes, in my opinion. It was not tested for that. People can use it for other purposes, but it's risky. People don't know long-term ramifications. People often don't do any mental work behind taking them. People don't use them properly. If you don't use it properly, you can lose a lot of muscle. There's issues with it. There are problems. There is a reason why people are hungry. It's not just because your body hates you. That's a toxic ritualistic concept. Like, physical hunger comes from a source. It comes from something. Now, when we're looking at toxic ritualistic hunger, that's different. That doesn't always come from something. That typically just comes from anxiety. But a lot of people that rely on weight loss surgery or Ozempic or GLP-1s, they don't do the mental work. And there's an attachment to it. There's an attachment to the problem mentally. So they root their recovery in these interventions. But by the way, if you're not careful, if you keep down that path, you can regain through both of them. People do it all the time. So I don't like it when things are framed as miracle cures. Something like weight loss surgery and Ozempic, they are tools used to help in extreme circumstances. Those extreme circumstances, oftentimes just being huge. Being like 600 pounds is an extreme circumstance. I'll put it to you that way. That alone, the hunger involved in that, it may be too difficult to overcome naturally. I'm going to be honest about it. It was very hard for me at 383. I was very hungry. And people don't take super morbidly obese hunger seriously. They don't. And that's physical. That's a physical hunger. That's very real. So when people are in these very tough situations and they need to take interventions to get out, I believe them. I do. I really do. But typically they have a different attitude about it too, because her attitude is a little bit weird. It's ringing alarm bells in my head. Let's continue.
My credentials to say this. I am a self-proclaimed former fatty. Used to be 310 pounds. Now I am 130. And here's my hot take. This might ruffle some feathers, and I'm okay with that. If these things are considered the easy way out for weight loss, chemo would be the easy way out of cancer.
It's not comparable, because if you eat less, you lose weight. There's no equivalent to cancer. With cancer, there are risk factors. There are risky behaviors you can take and do, but once you have it, it's a lot more difficult to get rid of. Once you're overweight, it's a lot easier to lose weight than to get rid of cancer. That is a ridiculous comparison. It is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard somebody say. Truly.
Insulin would be the easy way out of diabetes.
So when it comes to insulin and diabetes, I'm not going to get too into diabetes here. Diabetes, there are some interactions between diet and exercise and diabetes. I personally, this is my opinion, you can take it, leave it, etc. I think diabetes is a stress disorder. I think it has a lot to do with stress, has a lot to do with high cortisol, has a lot to do with inactivity, and it has a lot to do with other hormone issues like hypothyroidism and obesity in general. I think obesity in and of itself can cause it, which people don't talk about obesity itself causing diabetes, but it can, because it affects your insulin levels and this type of stuff. Just being obese is a risk factor. Plus there is reversal within weight loss and stuff like that. So those are my opinions. I'm not a doctor, whatever. You can have whatever opinion you want. So all I'm saying is the relationship with diabetes, it is a little bit more complicated. However, once you have it and once you're there, you do need to take precautions, or you need to treat it, because it will help you last longer if you do. And you have to manage it. So, and it's still not a direct control thing. It's not directly within somebody's control. It might be indirectly within somebody's control. Cancer is even less within somebody's control, though. It's an even dumber comparison. Diabetes, it's like halfway. Weight, it's totally in your control. It is. If you have a hormone issue that's making you hungry, there are solutions. So it's within control. It's not an excuse. There are things to do. There are options. So, yeah, it has to do with how much food is going into your mouth. That's what makes you 310 pounds. And I'd like to hear some accountability for that, or some kind of responsibility or something, because obviously you should have known that something was wrong. You should have known that you were eating too much for some type of reason, and you should have figured it out. And that's on the responsibility of the person. But to just be like, it was so out of my control, it was like cancer, that is stupid.
When there is a legitimate medical diagnosis.
Yes, and there are behaviors involved in this. Obesity doesn't just happen. That's what makes this a complicated issue. Probably really piss her off if I was talking to her.
A legitimate medical resolve.
There are many other options. I cannot stand it when somebody with E followed by the letter D acts as if those are the only ways to lose. It's not true. It is a myth. You don't need them. You don't. She didn't need it. I don't think it's an easy way out. I don't like that narrative, but I don't like the narrative that it's the only way. That's also not true. Doesn't work.
It's as simple as 1 + 1 = 2.
No, it isn't.
What are we doing here? What are we confused about?
You're very confused. You're confused about the reality that you overate.
Not the easy way out. It's not cheating. If it is, I double cheated. I did weight loss surgery and GLP-1.
I don't think it's cheating. Like I said, there's a cost. There's a physical cost. So it's not cheating. It isn't. But like I said, that physical cost can definitely be worth it. It can. The side effects, all that stuff. There are side effects with doing it naturally too. You have to pick and choose. You have to choose what can work for you. That's basically it. Weight loss from a huge size is difficult no matter what you choose to do. It is.
You know what else I did for 15 years before that?
You had an E followed by the letter D that you didn't resolve, that you clearly still didn't, because you're still delusional.
Tried to lose weight unsuccessfully. It has nothing to do with laziness. People who have...
It's not about laziness. I will always say I agree with that. I think having binge is quite an undertaking. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of money. It's a lot. It's a lot. So I agree. It's not about laziness, but it is about a DIS order. That's what that sounds like to me.
Done it the hard way or all natural, whatever they say, think they deserve a trophy because their body, their metabolism, their
magical thinking, because they were able to engage in caloric realism. I don't like this magical thinking because they accepted caloric realism and they dealt with whatever hormone issues they had, then yeah. I think somebody should be congratulated for getting out of a toxic ritualistic. For getting out of the toxic ritualistic. Somebody should be celebrated for that. That's my opinion. Regardless of which one. It takes a lot of work to get out, especially if it's severe, and it should be celebrated. It should be. Of course, it doesn't always happen just because somebody downsized, but it is what it is.
Genetic workup allowed them to do it that way?
Excuses. Nobody is genetically over 300 pounds. I'm sorry. It's bullshit.
They don't deserve any special recognition. And if that's harsh, that's how I feel. You are not bad.
I don't know about special recognition, but I do think a person that has done it naturally should have a satisfaction that they took less risks than what they needed to do. I'll put it to you that way. And that's really the only thing I have to say about it. That's basically it. As far as like, should somebody face scorn for for downsizing surgery or GLP-1? No. I don't agree with that either. People don't come to those decisions lightly. I don't think it's fair to judge. But I don't think it's fair to say that there's zero accomplishment in doing it naturally either. That's also not fair. It just isn't. I did a lot of work. I dealt with my deepest issue. I stayed out of it for years. Years. I've gone to the gym for years. I've counted. I've done a lot. So it's extremely rude to me to act as if it was nothing, especially as somebody who has gone through it yourself. And I've actually, by the time I'm done, I'll have lost probably about similar to what she's lost on my own. So I don't know what was the point of making this video for her, but it's like I wasn't even necessarily, it made me more against it, if that makes any sense. I'm not saying I am against it. I'm not taking a position that I am. I'm saying that this type of video, it will make people more against it. It will create more of a stigma. And I think that's probably the biggest issue I have, because I don't think it's fair. And I don't think you're a good person to speak for people who have had that. I think that's awful.
Better than me because you lost weight a different way. Once you show me the rule book or the competition that we're apparently in, maybe I'll understand your side better. But to me, you lost weight, great. I lost weight, great. Yay, we're all winning here. Where's the competition?
You're the one being competitive in this video. So I agree that people shouldn't be competitive. I absolutely agree with that. I don't think it's good to be competitive within it. I think that's a part of healing a toxic ritualistic cycle, or like that way of thinking is not seeing it as competitive. But again, the way that she's acting in this, it's kind of triggering, honestly. I think it makes it worse in people. And it's something that she should understand as somebody who's had that issue. So I'm just disgusted, personally. I am. I just have to be real. It's disgusting to me.
Losing weight, no matter if you have medical assistance or not, is not easy. And
I agree with that.
Anyone that tells you differently or believes differently is wrong.
That's also true. I agree with that too. So I think that this could have been better if she would have edited out some of those things, because it was kind of nasty, in my opinion, some of it, or it came across that way.
That's my take.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Okay, so we have to revisit the Nick lifts. I just saw this one today. We're gonna break this down. Let's go ahead and watch the whole thing.
Getting skinny comes with a cost that no one warns you about. I personally lost 70 pounds and I thought it was only going to improve my life. But the truth is, with every pound you lose, you're trading something else in your life for it. And there are 3 big things that had to be removed from my life for me to get in shape. And the reason no one tells you this is because it's uncomfortable. It won't sell their programs, get them more views. It's the raw truth. The first thing it's gonna cost you are your friends. And this is something you really start to notice when you make a lot of mental and physical progress. Everyone is cheering you on for those first 5 to 10 pounds, but when you're down 20, 30, looking better, feeling more confident, that's when people start to hate. They start telling you you're too obsessed, you're trying too hard, and that you changed as a person. And the truth is, these people were never your friends to begin with. If they're not happy to see you improve, you shouldn't count them as friends. And the truth is, the vast majority of people want to see you do good, but not better than them. The second thing is, I lost the ability to enjoy food as much as I did before. And when I say this, I'm specifically talking about frequency. It's just physically not possible to eat whatever you want, whenever you want, and still lose weight. You need to have some sort of control, whether it's changing the portion size or how frequently you eat something. But with that being said, you're losing the frequency, but you get to enjoy it more when you do have it. When I have an ice cream or when I have a sweet treat, I enjoy it more now because I have it less often. Number 3 is you lose your hope in society. Trust me, I know it sounds corny, but when you start to see people treat you like a completely different person just because of your weight, you know what I mean. It rewires your brain and shows you that people do care about looks, and it's a big part of how they treat you. Of course, I'm not saying that's how it should be, but it's something you're gonna see. The positive side of that is you can use it to your advantage now. And again, don't take this video the wrong way. I'm not saying losing weight is bad. My life has improved greatly after losing those 70 pounds. And each of these can become a benefit. When you lose friends, you find out who the real ones are. When you eat less food, you get to enjoy what you do have more. And when you learn more about the rules of society, you can make them work for your advantage. But again, like I said, these are the trade-offs you have to make. The main reason I bring all these up is because when I first went through them, it made me question whether it was worth it. While these can be seen as negative, they have an equal or greater positive side to them. Getting skinny comes with a...
So I want to go ahead and respond to this. I don't dislike all of it. I think you guys could tell by my facial expression that the last part he said was just horrible. But we're going to go ahead and break it down. I don't think this is all bad. I think there are certain things that he says that I can offer like a tweak. Again, I've lost 140, right? I've actually lost twice as much as him, which, not trying to be all extra about it, but I'm just saying I do think I'm qualified to have some observations, you know, or to offer some input or a little bit of a different perspective. So let's go ahead and listen again.
Cost that no one warns you about. I personally lost 70 pounds and I thought it was only going to improve my life. But the truth is, with every pound...
So it very likely did. Very likely did. End of sentence.
You lose, you're trading something else in your life for it. And there are 3 big things that had to be removed from my life for me to get in shape. And the reason no one tells you this is because it's uncomfortable. It won't sell their programs, get them more views. It's the raw truth.
So I don't agree with that. I think a lot of people talk about this stuff. I feel like, at least on Instagram, which I think Instagram is very negative in general. I think it's almost like we're just framing everything and how awful it is to lose weight. Like, it's almost the exact opposite issue when we're talking about it. Sometimes I feel like I'm totally crazy at this day and age when I talk about the positives of what has happened since downsizing. It's like, whoa, I feel like I'm being really radical, because there was a lot of times where I did talk about the negatives. I did. I wasn't in a fun part of the process and I had to talk about it. And I'm so glad I did, because I can kind of show the whole spectrum of it, you know? So, okay, let's go ahead. The first thing it's going to cost you are your friends. So I think that this is very exaggerated. Very, very exaggerated. When it comes to this stuff, the only people that you're really going to have an issue with in terms of your friends are people that are also toxically ritualistic. Now, in my opinion, the Nick lifts, he 100% at least has a history of it. If not, he's still in it. He has a lot of residuals, I will say, of the toxic ritualistic world, if not fully in it. I don't know that he's in it. I don't know if he's actually doing the behaviors, but I know that the mental side of it, there's a lot of work to be done for Nick. He really has a lot of issues and a lot of hangups from his issue, which I think in his case, it might come from the idea that men can't have these issues when they very much can. And I think he's a really good example of it showing up in a man, you know. Obviously I am too, but you know, I'm about as fruity tooty as you can get. So I get it, you know. But in terms of him, like, he's straight and all that stuff, and you can kind of see what it looks like. It's still there, in my opinion, or there's at least these residual thoughts and feelings that are, you know, hanging on post downsizing, which I think is a big aspect of Midsize Princess energy.
The first thing it's going to cost you are your friends. And this is something you really start to notice when you make a lot of mental and physical progress. Everyone is cheering you on for those first 5 to 10 pounds.
So I think the issue too is that when you have these toxic ritualistic issues, you tend to make friends that also have them. And what did I tell you guys? The worst thing you can do is recover. People that are within the issue, if you recover, they will hate your guts. They hate you. Absolutely hate you. So I think that that's where a lot of this comes from. Whereas like a typical person that's just like class 1 that has never had these toxic ritualistic issues, they might not lose a single friend over it because they didn't connect with people on that level. So I understand it is a social aspect as well within the DIS order. And when you do recover, people are really mad and you can be ousted over it. And that's hard for people who have never been in it to understand because we are told that it's an addiction. But even within addiction, there's still social aspects too. And I would say that's probably how they're the most, it's the most similar because the actual like physical mechanism is different. But the social aspect, the lying, the crabs in the bucket, like all this stuff, it's actually very similar to addiction. So again, I don't like it because it doesn't get the whole picture, basically. That's my biggest criticism of calling it that. It's not the full picture. There's a cycle, there's like all this stuff, there's a pathology behind it. It's also a mental illness rather than a physical dependency or any of these types of things. It's just different. And people argue all the time, you're not going to change my mind. It's different. There's no real addictive quality that has to do with your body image, for example. That's just, it's called a DIS order. I think it's a better way of framing it. But there are still similarities, and that's one of them. That's a similarity that is very real. But I think people are surprised, and I think people within the toxic ritualistic, they become very surprised because they're not expecting it. Especially when a lot of people that have the toxic ritualistic, they will literally talk to you about how much you need to downsize, about how they also need to downsize, about this, about that. And even if they're more on the reductive side of things, people still connect across the spectrum of DIS order. And so when you're getting to certain phases or you're doing things in a way that you're disproving what they feel that they have to do, it can still piss them off regardless. And so it can sometimes feel like a minefield and you can be like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this. And that's what it is. So I try to talk about it for people that do have these issues. If you have people in your life that also have these issues, they probably will get really angry. They may be okay. It depends on how deep they are within it. But if they're deep, they will hate you. But Gen Pop, the general population, I don't think it's as bad. I haven't gotten to being thin yet, so I'll let you know, basically, but I think it would be more similar to like coming into a lot of money or something. People might be a little bit jealous and stuff like that, but it doesn't go as deep as these issues go. But that's my perspective on that aspect.
pounds, but when you're down 20, 30,
they're fine with the first 5 to 10 pounds, and then they expect you to upsize. But if you don't, then they're pissed. So then he's saying you go down 20, 30, etc. That's when it's like it becomes more real and people get mad.
looking better, feeling more confident, that's when people start to hate. They start telling you you're too obsessed, you're trying to
Toxic ritualistic reinforcement.
hard, and that you changed as a person.
They want you to upsize. I had a whole video about that. It's in the description.
And the truth is, these people were never your friends to begin with. If they're not happy to see you improve, you shouldn't count them as friends. And the truth is, the vast majority of people want to see you do good, but not better than them.
Okay, so it's a little bit better. I think that it's just a little bit too bitter. Just a little bit too bitter. I can understand what he's saying. There are people who will be competitive with you for sure within different aspects of life. But if we're talking about particularly downsizing, I think it's really important to bring in that toxic ritualistic perspective because that really colors it.
The second thing is I lost the ability to enjoy food as much as I did before. And when I say this, I'm specifically talking about frequency. It's just physically not possible to eat whatever you want, whenever you want, and still lose weight. You need to have some sort of control, whether it's changing the portion size or how frequently you eat something.
So I agree with this. I think for me, what I would add to it is that when you stop obsessing over it, over time, over years especially, you don't enjoy it as much because it's not your whole life anymore. You start to see how boring it actually is. And I think when people wake up to the reality of how boring food actually can be, it does create a huge crash and a kind of hangover of the toxic ritualistic in the brain. And it takes a while to kind of rewire your brain because you're so used to getting insane amounts of stimulation from eating or from being horrified at the mirror. For example, if you're having a bored day, you could just go look at the mirror. And people take that for granted. They don't think about how difficult it is to no longer have that because people always think of it as, oh, it's such a relief, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes it can be oh, I don't have any stimulation anymore. My brain has changed. And that same process happens with food. It doesn't hit the same way. If you're upset, it doesn't change anything. Your emotions are no longer connected to it, which is healthy. That's natural. That's the way it should be. That's a normal person. But for a lot of people, that can create a sense of loss or grief because they've lost this kind of like weird pedal. Like if you think of like those rat studies where they gave them like a dopamine lever or whatever where they could push on it and it would like pump into their brain, you've lost that. You lost it. You lost that drama. You lost that easy button to get stimulated. So you have to actually live your life and you have to actually do other things, which is difficult. So that's what I will say. But with that, when you do that, it becomes a lot easier to just see food as normal, to just have a normal meal or celebrate a holiday or whatever and not really care about it anymore and it not be a big deal. It also completely safeguards when it comes to upsizing or regain. It's not going to happen because you're just seeing food for what it is. So I think that those aspects, yes, it can be like, oh my gosh, I've lost this magic in my life, but it's like a toxic, evil magic. I don't know how to describe it. It's very evil, and it's something that you've created within your brain. And so to let that go, it's kind of like you're just in real life now, you know? And I think that that feeling is weird. So I will offer that as a perspective. That's like a healed brain. It's different. You view it differently. And for some people, that can feel like a loss. Now, I will say you need to get other things in there. You need to find new ways of living, find new things, you know, explore new territory, do new stuff, enjoy different things, and live life, and just understand that that was a chapter of your life that is now concluded, and that's okay. We're moving on. We're moving forward. And try to think of it that way. that helps.
But with that being said, you're losing the frequency, but you get to enjoy it more when you do have it. When I have an ice cream or when I...
So I don't really like the way he framed this, because people that are within this issue, they're going to hate everything he's saying. And they're going to be like, that is horrible. I don't know that they're going to love what I said, but what I said about it is the reality. That's like the reality to the core of what it is. So yeah, you don't want to be a rat pushing a lever for a dopamine hit. You don't want to do that. You want to actually be living life and just actually getting dopamine just from living life. Okay? Because you don't want to live in that cage, basically. It's a cage. It's like a mental prison. So you have to think of it as like, I'm out of this now. I'm free now. That freedom can be scary, but it can also be exciting, and try to think about things in that sense. And it helps. I know that sounds really weird, but I'm just trying to offer that perspective.
I have a sweet treat, I enjoy it more now because I have it less often. Number 3 is you lose your hope in society. Trust me,
Okay, so this is just really extra. This is really MSP to the max. It's super emotional, super extra, but we'll go ahead and break it down.
I know it sounds corny, but when you start to see people treat you like a completely different person just because of your weight, you know what I mean. It rewires your brain. And
so I think that when you don't let go of the toxic ritualistic mindsets and you downsize, you're always comparing everything. You're always thinking about everything. You're always honing in and looking at, is this person treating me this way or not? Is it because of this? Is it because of that? Like, you have these types of mindsets that I don't think are necessarily natural and that most people don't have. I'll put it to you that way. So if you hold on to the DIS order in your mind, or you don't get rid of that residual or that hangover of it, or you don't work to get past it, it's going to cause you to hyperfixate on any little difference, any little thing. And then when you fixate on it, then you'll look at every single thing through that lens, and then it kind of creates that sense of reality, and you're still looking to obsess. It's a way to still hold on to that obsession, even within downsizing, which I don't support. The whole point is to get out of the obsession. You're in the mental prison still. It's just a different room of the same mental prison. I hope that that's clear.
Shows you that people do care about looks, and it's a big part of how they treat you.
So that's kind of a different topic. It goes into like pretty privilege and all these types of things. That's just like a no shit thing. I know that that's harsh, but I just have to be real. And most fat people understand it. It's not like you suddenly wake up and you just suddenly realize it. That's just, he's acting really, really extra about that in a way that I just don't quite understand. And it's almost like he's just playing with this in his mind to make himself upset. That's basically the best way I could put it, because everybody knows that already. I'm just gonna give it to you straight.
Of course, I'm not saying that's how it should be, but it's something you're gonna see. The positive side of that is you can use it to your advantage now. And again, don't...
So that part is a little bit odd to me. I think that's a weird thing to say. I think the way that I try to talk about it a lot is just saying that there are social roles and you can kind of shed them, and you have to shed them even if you don't want to, because I do push you guys to normalize your weight, especially within BINGE recovery. It's a part of it, in my opinion. Like, I don't think you're fully recovered if you're still, like, you know, super morbidly obese. But regardless, yeah, social roles exist. The way that people see you does change. But also we change within recovery too. We find parts of ourselves that were buried. We find parts of ourselves that we forgot existed, or that maybe never existed, because we can build and grow and recreate or create different aspects of ourselves with the whole of that being left behind. And you can become a whole person. You know, it takes up a large part of your identity, which I think is why a lot of people within the Midsize Princess energy they hold on to it because they don't want to lose that part of their identity. Whereas I advocate on this channel, let go of it completely. I do fight it in myself too, because I want my full identity without this. I want my full identity without the residual. And I think that I'm going to keep pushing for that because I want you guys to enjoy your lives. I want you to enjoy your life as much as you can during downsizing and after downsizing, and during recovery and after recovery, because we need to talk about after recovery too. And it's not talked about enough, in my opinion. But you don't have to be like this. You don't have to hold on to these mental matrices. You don't have to hold on to this. You don't. You're doing it because you're scared. You're scared of who you'll be without it. And you need to just find it out. You need to find out. I'm challenging you to hold yourself to a higher standard. Find yourself without it. Please. Because this type of stuff, it can be discouraging. And I don't like that. I just don't.
Don't take this video the wrong way. I'm not saying losing weight is bad.
I know he's not trying to do that. I get that. But on an emotional level, it's kind of what you're saying. And with the dramatic music and everything, and people within the toxic ritualistic, they tend to relate to it emotionally. So the emotional message is not good, in my opinion. It just isn't.
My life has improved greatly after losing those 70 pounds. And each of these can become a benefit. When you lose friends,
I think he's trying to work through it. He's trying. I wish he was a little further. I'm at least honest with you guys. I've told you guys, like, I am totally MSP and I'm like a hot mess. But he frames himself as like already past it, which I don't know. I don't like. I just don't. I'm sorry. I know it's critical, but it is what it is.
you find out who the real ones are. When you eat less food, you get to enjoy what you do have more. And when you learn more about the rules of society, you can make them work for your advantage.
People already know that. I'm sorry, I have to say that again. I just don't get that.
But again, like I said, these are the trade-offs you have to make. The main reason I bring all these up is because when I first went through them,
It's also too focused on aesthetic. There's not much health related in this, which I also don't like. It's a little bit too ignored. Because like I told you, I will literally say, I don't care if you don't want your social roles to change. You need to downsize. You need to get healthy. You're not going to stay that way to keep these roles. That's toxic ritualistic. You don't stay that way for social reasons. No. It's a no. So you deal with it. If you don't like the stereotypes of being thin, then guess what? You reinvent it yourself. Period. I'm playing with this hair a little too naturally, but anyways.
It made me question whether it was worth it. While these can be seen as negative, they have an equal or greater positive side to them. Getting skinny comes with...
Oh my gosh, this wig is like taking over my mouth. Okay, we got one more. Let's do this. We're making this a long MSP. I've missed this. Okay, let's go. Okay, so I do plan on covering Amy in half more. She is the turbo MSP of GLP-1. She is like a great example. I want to do a deep dive on her at some point. I probably will. As I'm leaving the mids, it'll probably be like my farewell moment, but it's coming. So I'm just saying, I've been paying attention to Amy in half. Let's go ahead and watch this. So I want you to watch it with the perspective of, this is an example of somebody who has downsized, who has not done the mental work of getting out of the toxic ritualistic. And this is what it looks like, okay?
You look so great now. Wow, you look amazing. There's just something about you now. You look like a completely different person. You were really ugly and disgusting before. Wow, you looked hideous when you were fat. You looked like a giant whale before. So you were depressed when you were fat. You were fat and now you are skinny. And you are treated better because you are skinny. You are valued more because you are skinny. And you are happier because you are skinny. You look...
Okay. So, I told you guys within the toxic ritualistic, there is a pedestalization of thinness. There's this like, it makes you a superhero or something. Like, I'm telling you, for people who have not had the issue, oh gosh, it's so horrible to think about and it's so cringy to me. But when you have binge, you have like this envisioned fantasy / nightmare, I don't know, of the thin version of you. And it's this huge weapon. I think it's really toxic. And she's kind of acting as if she's like, well, I'm in that fantasy now. I'm living that fantasy now. And it's just weird. And much of her content is kind of complaining and about how miserable she is about how people treat her. That's honestly what most of her content is. So it's like it's a little bit of a visual fail on that side, which if you want to look her up, you can. You can see what I'm talking about. But she didn't do any mental work, in my opinion. 0. Which I think if you are taking a GLP-1, you need to do that mental work. You just need to. Please, please do not neglect that. It's a huge part of it. Huge part of it. Huge part of it. Okay, let's break it down piece by piece. What they say after weight loss. So this is what people tell her after losing weight.
So great now. Wow, you look amazing. There's just something about you now. You look like a completely different person. You were really ugly and disgusting.
So you could hear all those things. If you take them at face value, then that's all it has to be. You don't have to think about it any deeper than that. Just be like, oh my God, thank you so much. Da, da, da. I've had people tell me I've lost weight in public. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And da, da, da. And I just move on. Maybe there have been times where I've been a little bit anxious about it. Just like a tiny, like a 1 out of 10 anxiety. But I don't dive into it. And I need you guys to not dive into it if that happens to you. If somebody says that to you, just in your little tiny bit anxious, just be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And then move on. Because you have to choose to spiral. It's a choice. It is a choice. So don't. Please.
Before. Wow, you looked hideous when you were
Nobody's saying this.
fat.
You are. So when you're saying this to yourself, this is stuff that you're saying, which this is keeping the toxic ritualistic alive. This is keeping that obsession going and that negative hatred of your body alive. That's what this is, even post WL. So she's holding on to her DIS order completely, in my opinion. I don't even think there is any attempt at recovery. Like with Nick, there's at least some attempt. I don't think she's had any attempt whatsoever. It's like she's right there. And if she ever couldn't be on that medication, she would blow back up so fast with this terrible mental framework that she has going on, in my opinion.
You looked like a giant whale before. So you were depressed when you were fat. You were fat and now you are skinny. And you are treated better because you are skinny. You are valued more because you are skinny.
Pedestalization, it's not real. This is something that she believes. She's going to only look for what confirms her bias. This is a confirmation bias moment. So what I will say is maybe her personality in general, it was more aligned with a thin social role. That might be what it is. So she's having an easier time. I know for me, I kind of feel that way. I feel like I probably would align more with a thin social role, but it's because for a lot of years, I haven't really identified with being fat. So there's just like this weird incongruence that's finally going to resolve, basically. But that's about it. I'm not expecting to be able to walk on water and shit like that. It's not going to happen, you know? And so I'm not going to be disappointed if it doesn't, you know? But I'm not going to act like it's a bad thing. I think it will be good. I think I'm excited for it, you know? I'm excited for it activistically. I'm excited for it personally. I'm really happy that I'm getting to that point. We're getting to the end of the mids, you know? I'm happy about it. I really, really am. I'm deeply satisfied with it. But I'm not expecting the world to just be whatever. I'm sure that there will be bad with the good. It will be different. It's been different through every phase of the journey. And there's been good and bad in all phases. So I'm sure being thin will be no different. That's my perspective going in, you know?
And you are happier because you are skinny.
So I don't like that either because it's reinforcement. So it's reinforcing other people too in a way that's really negative. So that's basically this video. I guess let me know what you guys think. I feel like I might have ruffled some feathers in this. Maybe I didn't. Who knows? As always, I'm not necessarily trying to completely judge. I'm just offering a perspective, and I'm trying to work through a lot of these issues myself at this time, although I do feel like I'm getting there at this point. So I will go ahead and leave you guys with that. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.